My dad looked me straight in the eye and said, "Losers don't get invited to Christmas." He meant my son, his own grandson. And while my 18-year-old boy was out in the snow picking out a bottle of wine for them, I was standing in the kitchen, barely breathing. I didn't scream. I didn't even argue. But something broke inside me that night. And the next day, they were the ones calling me in a panic. My name is Caroline Moore. I'm 43, a single mom, and a librarian at a public university in Boston. My life's been a long, quiet road of doing what's right, even when it hurt. I paid my dues, student debt, family loyalty, sleepless nights. But the one thing I never questioned was protecting my son. His name is Ethan, and he's the kind of kid who brings you a gift just because it's Thursday. Thoughtful, steady, the kind of good you can't fake. That night, I realized something chilling. I had spent years trying to keep peace with people who would turn on him the second he made a decision they didn't approve of. And what they didn't know was I was done keeping peace. Before we go further, if you've ever stood up for someone you love when it cost you everything, hit that like button. Subscribe if you've ever kept quiet too long. Because what happened next wasn't loud, but it was final. It started with a wine bottle. Not a fancy one, not expensive. But the way my son held it in his gloved hands when he stepped into the kitchen, it looked like he'd just won a trophy. "Got the last one at the third store," he said, cheeks pink from the cold. "It's Grandpa's second favorite. I tried 5 places for the usual, but no luck. I can keep checking later, though." He was proud, genuinely proud. I remember nodding. I don't remember saying a word. My hands were still flat on the counter. I had just hung up the phone. The call that changed everything. The call, it was my mom. Her voice, syrupy sweet like always when she's about to say something cruel. "We've invited so many guests this year," she said cheerfully. "It's going to be very tight, so we were wondering, maybe Ethan could sit this one out. Just this year." Then came the real moment. In the background, my dad didn't even try to whisper. "Tell him, losers don't get Christmas." My mom shushed him, but not because she disagreed. She just didn't like how it sounded. Then came the chorus. My nephew, Jacob Harvard Law, Golden Boy, the one they post about every week, laughed. "What's it called again? Mediocre state. Do they even have cadavers, or just plastic skeletons?" No words, just stillness. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I hit the red button and stood there. Just stood there. Meanwhile, in the living room, Ethan was wrapping a box in cheap holiday paper, a gift for my mom. Her favorite tea. He'd ordered it 2 weeks ago to make sure it arrived on time. "They were almost out of this too," he said. "Funny how stuff disappears around Christmas. Huh?" He smiled. I blinked. Maybe. Because what do you say to a kid who still believes effort earns you love? I said nothing. Then came the meme. Later that night, I was scrolling, doom scrolling, honestly. And there it was. A meme posted by Jacob. A toddler's toy doctor set, plastic stethoscope, cartoon pill bottles, the caption. Graduates from Crestwell Med like, "I diagnose you with vibes." Underneath comments. Fake school. Pretty sure you can apply there with a library card. My dentist went there. That explains a lot. And then I saw it. My dad had liked the post. Not scrolled past, not ignored. He clicked like, he approved. What hurts the most? My son still didn't know. He was upstairs, probably writing a Christmas card in that tidy, careful handwriting no one else in the family has. Probably writing something like, "Thanks for always believing in me." I stared at the wall, my face still, my chest hollow. My father had called him a loser. My family had laughed behind his back, and they still expected me to show up, smile, and pass the stuffing. That's when the coldness started. Not sadness, not even rage. Clarity. But the knife twisted deeper. You have to understand, we weren't strangers to this dinner table. My son grew up around these people. They weren't just guests. They were family. Aunt and uncle, even when they weren't blood. They came to his piano recitals, sent him birthday cards, bought him his first microscope kit. So when my mom said no room, it wasn't logistics, it was rejection. And when my dad said loser, it wasn't a joke. It was betrayal. A life of silence. You might think this was the first time. It wasn't. My parents built their whole identity around prestige. Not knowledge, not passion, prestige. My brother Mark Harvard Law. They printed his acceptance letter, framed it, paid for everything. It was a coronation. Me. When it was my turn. We'd love to help, but things are a little tight. Funny how the money ran out just in time. They helped me apply for scholarships, encouraged loans. Now I'm 43, still paying them off. And when my parents retired, they said they were struggling. So I started sending them money, quietly. Grocery bills, heating, just enough to help. Turns out I was funding the people who turned around and mocked my son. But we'll get there. The shift. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was sad, because I was done. Years walking a tightrope between compliance and dignity, and now the rope was gone. My son was still in the living room. He was watching anatomy videos on his laptop like it was Netflix. And I just stood in the hallway, watching. How do you tell a kid that his own family thinks he's beneath them? That he's not welcome, not because he failed, but because he didn't make them look good. I sat down across from him. I need to talk to you, I said, about Christmas. He blinked, pen in hand, and I told him everything. He didn't interrupt, didn't cry, didn't speak. He shut his textbook, stood up, and walked to his room. Click, door closed. Not a bang, just a final period. And somehow that silence hurt more than any fight ever could. But it also made something crystal clear. I wasn't just going to take it. They disinvited my son. Then they didn't deserve the rest of us either. And the way I flipped Christmas, you'll want to hear every detail. I sat in that quiet living room long after Ethan had gone upstairs. The Christmas lights still twinkled on the tree, blinking like nothing had happened, but everything had changed. I didn't know what hurt more, my son's silence, or the echo of my father's voice in my head. Losers don't get Christmas. It played over and over like a bad song you can't turn off. But the worst part, this wasn't new. It was just the first time I couldn't pretend anymore. The family business was prestige. Let me take you back. In my family, education wasn't just valued, it was worshipped. But not just any education. It had to be shiny, impressive, resume-worthy. My parents were career academics. Not wealthy, but proud. The kind of people who dropped names like Harvard and Princeton into casual conversations. The kind who thought state schools were for people who couldn't quite cut it. They spent their lives in tiny offices with overstuffed bookshelves, debating journal articles over burnt coffee, acting like they were building the world from scratch. And they expected us to carry that same torch. My older brother, Mark. He was their pride project, 3 years older than me, but always treated like he was decades ahead. They called him gifted. They said he just needed structure, which, in our house, meant tutors, coaching programs, academic camps, custom schedules laminated and taped to his wall. Nothing was too expensive. Nothing was too much. By the time I was 5, I was memorizing vocabulary lists taped to the fridge. Flashcards were more common than snacks. Our dinners came with pop quizzes. They called it support. But only for him. When it was my turn, when I got into a good university, not Ivy, but still respected, I expected a sliver of that same support. Instead, I got a family budget meeting. We'd love to help, my dad said, but things are a little tight right now. Tight. They had just thrown Mark a going-away party that could have passed for a small wedding. They paid for his tuition, housing, books, groceries, even his laundry detergent. Me. I got links to scholarship websites and a family pat on the back. Loans are totally normal. My mom told me, everyone does it. You'll be fine. And so I went. I studied. I graduated. And I walked across that stage into 6 figures of student debt. Nobody clapped. Nobody framed my diploma. Nobody said they were proud. Debt that never goes away. Now I'm 43. I have a steady job, a roof over our heads. We're not rich, but we're okay. But I still carry that debt like a second spine. Every month, I pay. And I smile through it. I skip vacations. I delay fixing the roof. I shop the clearance aisle. And I don't complain. Because that's what responsible daughters do. At least, that's what I thought. Until my parents retired. They told me their pensions weren't enough. You know how it is in academia. They said, we never made real money. So I started helping. Quietly. Just a few bills at first. Groceries, utilities. Then it became monthly. Routine. They never asked for more, but they didn't need to. I thought I was doing the right thing. The echo repeats. And maybe, if they hadn't hurt my son, I would have kept doing it, kept helping, kept pretending we were some tight-knit intellectual family that just got a little intense sometimes. But now I saw it for what it was. They never changed. They just moved their spotlight from my brother to his son. Jacob, Harvard law student, meme poster, walking ego. To my parents, he's the golden grandchild. They post about him nonstop. Look who's going to change the world. Future Supreme Court Justice. Meanwhile, Ethan, my son, is barely mentioned. Maybe once a year, if I bring him up first. And even then, it's just polite nods. Never praise, never pride. Ethan's choice. When college application season came around, Ethan didn't say much. He applied on his own, did his own research, quiet, methodical, just like he's always been. And he got in more than one place, actually, including a big-name school that would have made my parents drool. But he didn't choose that one. Instead, he picked New England MedTech, a solid local medical school, not top 10, not Ivy, but good, respected, affordable. He earned a partial scholarship. He could live at home, no loans. And I was proud, not just because he got in, but because he saw what I hadn't. He chose peace over prestige. But to my parents, that made him a disappointment. A system exposed, and looking back, I should have known. My parents never really valued the person. Only the performance, the label, the accolades, the name on the door. Ethan wasn't embarrassing because of who he was. He was embarrassing because he didn't look good on paper. He didn't feed their image. And that was the moment I realized something terrifying. They didn't love us unconditionally. They loved us when we made them look good. The ritual of rejection. Every year, Christmas dinner is the same. Same house. Same china, same people, half family, half old academic colleagues who've become family. It's tradition. And Ethan grew up in that tradition, calling them aunt and uncle, getting hugs and peppermint bark, listening to stories that sounded more like TED Talks. These weren't strangers. These were our people. So when my mom called and said there wasn't space for him this year, it wasn't logistics. It was punishment. And I knew right then this wasn't just about this year. This was the rule, the unspoken contract. Shine or be shut out. But they didn't realize something. I wasn't the same girl who begged for help and swallowed shame. I was a woman with a backbone built out of debt, silence, and quiet strength. And they had just called my son a loser. So if they were drawing lines, They better believe I was ready to erase the whole map. I thought I was done being surprised by them. But then came the meme. You know the one? The meme that broke something. It showed up on my feed around midnight. I was lying in bed, phone in hand, pretending I might fall asleep. But really, I was doing what most emotionally wrecked mothers do when they feel helpless. I was scrolling. And there it was. Posted by Jacob. Of course. A plastic doctor kit. Bright colors. Cartoon stethoscope. The kind you'd give a toddler for pretend play. The caption. Graduates from Crestwell Med like I diagnose you with vibes. Crestwell was the fake name they always used to mock Ethan's school. And this post wasn't just a joke, it was an attack. I clicked into the comments. Not a real school. Pretty sure you can get in with a library card and a pulse. My dentist went there. That explains a lot. And then I saw it. Right there, beneath all the snark. A thumbs up. From my father. He didn't just scroll by. He liked it. He endorsed it. He laughed at it. At my son. That's when the switch flipped. It wasn't just cruelty, it was casual cruelty. The kind that doesn't even blink before hitting, like the kind that lives in people who believe they're better than you. Because they were told they were better over and over until they started saying it out loud. And for a long time, I'd been silent. Polite. Grateful, even, when they gave Ethan crumbs of acknowledgement. But not anymore. Not after that post. Not after that call. Not after they disinvited my son from the table he helped set year after year. I couldn't let it slide. Ethan still didn't know. He was upstairs, headphones on, probably watching anatomy videos or outlining case studies. That's how he relaxed learning. He had no idea that the people he used to hug every Christmas had just laughed at his future like it was a punchline. He didn't know that he'd been erased from a tradition he believed he belonged to. I stared at the tree, at the string lights blinking without emotion, at the presents still stacked neatly under the branches. And then I opened my laptop. The email. A few weeks earlier, my mom had sent the usual group email. Subject line Christmas dinner. Please confirm allergies. She always included a head count, because heaven forbid someone bring the wrong stuffing. 18 confirmed guests. The same names as every year. Some family. Some honorary uncles and aunts. All people who'd been around since I was a teenager. Many of them had known Ethan since he was born. Sent him books, gift cards, science kits, birthday cards signed with little hearts. They weren't just my parents' friends. They were ours. And they had no idea what had happened. Not yet. The first call, I didn't rehearse a speech. I didn't campaign. I just picked up the phone. Hey, just wanted to let you know. We won't be at Christmas this year. Pause. They uninvited Ethan, said there wasn't room. Another pause, longer this time. They already have 18 confirmed guests. You do the math. That's all I said. And then I hung up. Then I called the next person, and the next, and the next. No drama, just facts. The reactions. Some were shocked. Others went very quiet. One person muttered, "You're kidding." But every single time, there was that same pause, that beat of breath when someone realizes they've been invited to a party with a price tag, and that price is complicity. And one by one, they made their choices. A shift in the air. By Christmas Eve, 13 of the 18 had reached out. Some called, some texted, some just sent a quiet RSVP with 4 words. We'll be there. At our place. Not theirs. Some offered apologies. Some didn't. I wasn't looking for groveling. Just clarity. Even my sister-in-law texted me separately. I didn't know they said that. I'm so sorry. I'll come to your place instead. Just don't tell Mark yet. Mark, my brother, the golden child. He wasn't invited. Neither was Jacob. That wasn't revenge. It was a boundary. This was about fairness. For years, they'd fed my son crumbs and expected him to smile. This time, I was feeding the truth to people who needed to hear it. And they didn't just believe me. They believed in Ethan. I spent the next 24 hours prepping like I was hosting the White House, roasting, baking, folding napkins like my life depended on it. Not because I needed to prove anything, but because I needed that table to reflect what they couldn't see. My son didn't need their approval. He had community. He had worth. He had me. And Christmas. Christmas was about to look very different this year. The night before Christmas Eve, I sat at the edge of my kitchen island. The list of guest RSVPs spread before me like battle plans. 13 confirmed, 5 silent. My heart pounded with a strange mix of satisfaction and dread. This was it. The moment I crossed from righteous anger into action. I realized then that my calm on the phone was a mask for the storm in my mind. Every polite, factual call had edged me closer to this breaking point. I would host Christmas, my way, on my terms, and I would make sure my son and everyone who mattered felt what real generosity looked like. The breaking point. All those years of bearing debt and biting my tongue, every silent payment, every forced smile had led to this singular truth. I would no longer enable people who thrived on my compliance. My parents had taught me that peace meant obedience. I decided peace would now mean justice. I stood up. I cleared the papers off the counter. I inhaled deeply and exhaled hard. No more shuffling through life with my head down. No more hiding what I felt. I would not let my son grow up believing that love was conditional on a fancy letterhead. That clarity, cold and cutting, felt like a gift I'd unwrapped just for myself. Crafting the plan. Within 10 minutes, I had drafted a blueprint. No extra lines, no wasted words, just actionable steps. Venue: our cozy dining room. Familiar, warm, a place where Ethan already felt at ease. Guest list. The 13 who said yes. Names, numbers, dietary notes. I would double-check allergies, my mom's old line. But this time, to show care, not control. Menu: all of Ethan's favorites. Roast turkey with herbed butter, honey balsamic Brussels sprouts, silky mashed potatoes, homemade gravy, scratch-made cranberry sauce because a little tartness always balances the sweet. Timeline shopping: first thing tomorrow morning. Early bird wins. Then prepping sauces. Marinating the night before. On Christmas Eve, turkey in at dawn. Sides prepped mid-morning. Table set by noon. Table setting: cloth napkins in holiday red. Simple pine garlands down the center. Battery-powered candles for soft light. No place cards for my parents or Jacob. Only for the people who chose to stand with us. Music and ambience: Ethan's vinyl jazz playlist. Warm, uplifting, a subtle reminder that joy can come from unexpected sources. Contingency for the 5 who hadn't replied. I'd send a gentle reminder tomorrow. If they still stayed silent, no hard feelings, our table would simply be heartier for it. I walked through each item in my head, picturing the steps so clearly I could almost taste the food. Setting the timeline. I opened my calendar app. December 23, 8:00 a.m. grocery trip, local farmers market and the big grocery warehouse. December 23, 6:00 p.m. Prep sauces. Make cranberry sauce. Marinate turkey bits for stock. December 24th, 6:00 a.m. Turkey goes in. Fresh coffee for me. December 24th, 10:00 a.m. Sides assembly. Potatoes peeled. Brussels sprouts trimmed. December 24th, 12:00 p.m. Table setup. Candles tested. Table runner fluffed. Napkins folded. December 24th, 3:00 p.m. Final touches: reheat dishes. Arrange platters. December 24th, 4:00 p.m. Doors open. Hugs begin. I saved the event. I felt a surge of control. This schedule wasn't about perfection. It was about creating a space that honored kindness, not prestige. Rallying the troops next. I texted Ethan. Hey, bud. Hope that anatomy quiz went well. I've got a surprise tomorrow. Be ready by 8 for coffee and errands. Your favorite oatmeal pancakes await. He replied with a thumbs-up emoji and a can't wait. I smiled. His calm grounded me. He didn't know the why. He just trusted me. Then I messaged the 13 guests individually. Excited to host you all. Quick check any last-minute allergies or dietary needs. Also, bring a favorite holiday memory to share over dessert. Responses pinged back: gluten-free grandmother, one vegan friend, one nut allergy. Perfect. The quiet reprisal. No blazing signs. No public call-outs. This was revenge by inversion instead of shaming them. I would model something they'd never managed: a feast of genuine inclusion. No passive aggression at my table. Just gratitude. Just warmth. Just the kind of acceptance my son deserved. I closed my laptop. I felt something softening in my chest. Not regret, but a kind of resolve that felt hopeful. I was no longer the dutiful daughter. I was a mother making a promise. And I planned to keep it. Tomorrow, the ovens fire up. The table will be set. And when the first guest walks through my door, this plan will become reality. There will be many moments that sting, small surprises that land like gavel strikes, and quiet triumphs that fill the room with something they never saw coming: real family. I woke at 5:45 a.m. to the soft hum of Christmas lights still glowing. The kitchen smelled of coffee and possibility. I slipped on my slippers, grabbed a mug, and carried it to the counter. Outside, dawn was just brushing the sky. Inside, my plan was already in motion. Morning warm-up. By 6:00 a.m., I'd mixed pancake batter in a stainless steel bowl. Ethan patted in, rubbed his eyes, and smiled. Smells amazing, he mumbled. I poured batter onto the griddle. The sizzle felt like a drum beat. He topped his pancakes with fresh berries and a drizzle of maple syrup, the same breakfast I made him before every big test. Ready for errands? I asked. He nodded, spoon in hand. Let's do it. We moved through the farmer's market together. He carried our basket. He joked about picking the ripest cranberries. I laughed, but my mind stayed on the kitchen: the turkey brined, the ovens preheated, the table waiting. Midday momentum. Back home by 10:00 a.m. I set Ethan to work at the counter peeling potatoes, testing the cranberry sauce's sweetness. I basted the turkey with melted butter, herbs, and a dash of white wine. The aroma filled the house, promising warmth. I arranged the pine garland down the center of the table. Each string of battery candles I clicked on felt like a small victory. No place cards for my parents or Jacob, only the 13 who chose us. I looked at that bare spot. It was intentional. A silent question: who matters here? First guest arrives at precisely 4:00 p.m. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Linda, the elderly woman who taught Ethan violin. She hugged me and kissed my cheek. Her eyes flicked to the table. It's beautiful, she said softly. She carried a homemade cranberry pie. I guided her inside, showed her the allergy-free gravy I'd made with her dietary needs in mind. She nodded, impressed. One by one, Carlos, my college roommate, Priya, the neighbor who babysat Ethan as a toddler, Marcus, an old mentor, they arrived. Each greeted Ethan like a hero coming home. Each looked around, saw the empty chairs that once belonged to my parents' circle, and paused. But they didn't ask. They knew. They simply took their seats. First course and whispered truths. We started with cranberry soup and crostini. As spoons clinked, Carlos leaned in. I heard what happened, he whispered. I can't believe they did that to him.
I nodded. It hurt more than I expected.
He squeezed my hand. You did the right thing. Across the table, Ethan smiled, quiet, confident. He was home. Main course and mini climaxes. When I brought out the turkey, Marcus let out a low whistle. The skin was golden. The juices glistened. "Caroline, this is next level," he said. Ethan carved. Each slice landed on plates like peace offerings. Guests murmured appreciation. Their faces lit. No awkward silences. No forced small talk about the weather. Instead, honest praise. Then Priya raised her glass. To family, real family. Glasses clinked. The words hung in the air. We all knew what they meant. Dessert and the silent phone. By 6:30 p.m., we had moved to dessert peppermint mousse and gingerbread cookies. Laughter sprinkled the room. That's when my phone buzzed. I stepped onto the porch. My mom. "Caroline, what did you do?" she barked. I smiled at the cold air. "I offered your seat to people who love my son." Silence. Then we never meant for it to go this far. "No," I said, voice steady. "You meant exactly what you said." I hung up. And in that moment, I felt it release. The triumph of inclusion. Back inside, Ethan was talking about his upcoming rotation at the hospital. Guests listened, asked questions. They leaned forward. They cared. I looked around the table. No titles, no prestige, no judgment, just connection. They told stories of Ethan as a child, his first science fair, the volcano that erupted on Aunt Marge's white tablecloth. They laughed until their sides hurt. And for the first time, I saw something in my son's eyes, unguarded joy. That night, when the last guest drove away, we sat at the clearing table. Empty plates, a few candle stubs, crumbs in the corners. I put my arm around Ethan. "You okay?" He nodded, rested his head on my shoulder. Best Christmas ever. I realized I didn't need to rub their noses in it. The celebration itself was enough. But the story wasn't over, because this wasn't just about one dinner. It was about what came next, how they reacted, how I freed myself, and how the people who hurt us had to face their own ghosts. The morning after the feast, our house was quiet. The tree lights blinked on their own schedule, and the air still carried a faint hint of rosemary and gravy. Ethan slept in, and I stood by the window with my coffee, savoring a hard-won calm. The first ripples. Not an hour later, my phone buzzed. A notification from the extended family group chat, the one with grandparents, second cousins, old neighbors. My mom had posted a cropped photo of her now empty table. The caption read, "Some people don't understand how to ruin Christmas. No names, just venom." I scrolled through the comments. A few question marks. One cousin in Florida wrote, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" My Aunt Louise from Ohio lamented, "This is such a shame," but mostly silence. The venom had landed back on my parents. My quiet counterstrike. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I took a screenshot of Jacob's Dr. Kit meme, the exact one mocking Ethan. Then I tapped reply, pasted the meme, and wrote, "Remember this." He liked it, and yes, my son was never invited. That was their choice. I hit send and closed the app. I didn't want to watch the fallout. I had already heard enough. The uninvited knock. 3 days later, there was a knock at my door. The laundry basket in my arms felt suddenly heavy. I opened the door. My parents stood there, looking tentative. "Caroline," my mom began, her voice brittle. "We thought it was time to talk." My dad hovered behind her, arms crossed, the same disapproving posture I'd known my whole life. I set the laundry down. "What is there to talk about?" My mom's tight smile faltered. "We didn't mean for things to get so out of hand." "No," I said softly but firmly. You meant exactly what you said. You excluded my son and laughed about it. You turned Christmas into a punchline at his expense.
My dad took a step forward. We've always supported you.
You've supported prestige, I replied. Not me or him. My mom opened her mouth. I held up a hand. Save it. I turned and closed the door. The click was quiet, but it echoed louder than any argument. Jacob's apology, or lack thereof. A week later, another knock. This time it was Jacob's smug grin, designer coat, the picture of entitled remorse. Can we talk, he asked, shifting from foot to foot. I crossed my arms. About what? He looked away. I didn't mean for it to blow up like this. His words stumbled out. He'd been bankrolled by our family funds, funded in part by the monthly transfers I'd been sending. He hadn't denied it. His silence said it all. You used that money, I said, voice cool, so you could look good. Then you turned around and humiliated my son. He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. Leave. And don't come back. No raising my voice. No dramatic slam. Just a locked door and a mother done with excuses. Liberation in the silence. In the days that followed, a strange freedom settled over me. The phone stopped buzzing with demands and denials. Emails from creditors were the only reminders of my past debts. And they felt less heavy now, somehow, because I wasn't paying to uphold someone else's ego. Ethan called me from campus, excited about his first internship interview. His voice was bright. Mom, I nailed it, he said. They loved my project on community health. I smiled into the phone. I'm so proud of you. And thanks for that Christmas, he added. Best one ever. I felt a warmth bloom in my chest. Not the glow of obligation, not the dull ache of expectation. Something new, true peace. The final pieces. Later that week, I received another message from Aunt Louise, the cousin who'd wondered what happened. She had reached out to my parents after seeing my reply. I'm so sorry, she wrote. I had no idea. She asked if she could send a small gift to Ethan. I replied with gratitude. A few days later, a package arrived, a set of medical reference books he'd wanted. That simple act recognition from someone who wasn't bound by our old family rules felt like the truest gift of all. I never imagined I'd end up here standing in my kitchen, the lights of the Christmas tree long since packed away, wondering what comes next. Yet this feels less like an ending and more like a new beginning. Lessons carved in snow. When I look back, the harshest winters weren't the ones I spent shivering under blankets. They were the ones where love came with conditions. I learned 3 truths that night. Unconditional support is a choice. My parents chose prestige over people. I chose my son. Real support isn't about crafting the perfect resume. It's about showing up fully for the ones you love, without tallying points or weighing costs. Boundaries protect what matters. Silence can feel safe, but it often strengthens injustice. When I stopped sending money to my parents, it wasn't punishment, it was protection. I protected my dignity, my son's sense of belonging, and our shared trust. Community outshines convention. True family is not defined by blood or by tradition. It's defined by empathy and shared values. When 13 people chose my home over my parents' table, they rewrote the rules of belonging. They showed Ethan that love isn't exclusive. Universal truths. This isn't just my story. It's the story of anyone who's been taught worth equals performance. It's for the kid who chose a balanced school over a ranked one. It's for the adult still paying bills on a dream that never felt like theirs. It's for the quiet heroes who give and give, hoping someone notices. We live in a culture that prizes best and first. We chase labels and metrics, convinced they confer value. But real value comes from action kindness, loyalty, generosity. When you measure life by what you give, not by what you earn, you reclaim your power. Confronting the past. I've thought about seeing my parents again. What would I say? Would they apologize? Would they understand? Maybe not. I've learned that I can't compel someone to change their hearts. I can only change my own. If they knock again, I may open the door. But I'll stand firm, no more conditions, no more compromises.
And if they can't meet me there, that's their crossroads, not mine.
The path forward. For Ethan, this Christmas was a turning point. He saw respect in action. He saw that kindness can tip the scales. As he heads into his rotations and interviews, he carries more than medical knowledge. He carries a sense of belonging that no rejection can erase. As for me, I carry lessons sharper than any scalpel. To speak truth calmly, to lead with care, not control, to build a family by choice, not by default. If you've ever felt undervalued despite your hard work, if you've ever had to choose between fitting in and standing up, share your thoughts in the comments. How did you draw your line in the snow? What truths did you discover when you refused to stay silent? If this story spoke to you, hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Because next, I want to explore how we can build communities that lift everyone, not just the golden kids. Thank you for spending these 7 parts with me. Your support means more than any accolade. Here's to the feasts we'll host, the boundaries we'll uphold, and the love we'll choose every single day. Stay brave, stay kind, and remember your worth is never up for debate.